Mrs. Desiree Rose. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. We've known each other virtually, but not actually spoken in real time since you found us about 10 months ago. So thank you for joining me.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And again, thank you for making such a fun, awesome product that I get to share with people, because Plexicam is just so needed. I tell everyone to get it.
Yeah, no, thank you. And you were very early on. I mean, we only started selling about 3 months before you found us. And I think you were the first streamer that did a video about us, which was like, oh my God, somebody somebody found us and wants to talk about us.
Well, it's funny how I found you. I found you in this really quirky way. I got targeted from a Kickstarter ad for another kind of and it was like a camera with like this like thin and I actually got it and it's trash, which makes me kind of sad because I did spend money on it, but it never worked right. It just was like a really low resolution. I was like, ugh. But I had found Plexicam when I had shared it in a group, like, this is a really cool idea. And then someone said, oh yeah, you should check out what Dan's doing with Plexicam. And I saw it and I instantly went and I bought it. And I was like, sold. Like, this was, I can use this now. I had to wait for the Kickstarter to happen. And I just liked how easy it was to use. I liked that it was clear. To think is like a kind of something people are like, that's like, as someone who does this a lot and has been doing this for a long time, I've been doing Zoom in since before the pandemic. I was trying to get people to Zoom more like 2012 because I was like, gas is expensive, stop it. But at the time I lived in Phoenix, you had to like drive forever to meet with people. And I'm like, it's such a waste of time when we can literally save so much money on gas and make our own tea and coffee. But anyway, that aside, so I just think that it's a really great tool, and I will continue to preach it until the day you stop selling it. So
well, there you go. So we're not going to stop selling anytime soon, so feel free to carry on.
No.
So we were going to talk today. So for Next Future Today, I like to talk about lots of different topics from people that have very esoteric kind of super obscure skills and things that are much more mainstream, or at least should be more mainstream. So I didn't look up the stats, but I believe YouTube has been around under at least Google ownership for at least 15 years, maybe longer.
Yeah,
and there's still sort of a stigma.
2006, I believe. They said it's, that's how long it's been around, and with Google partnership.
Yeah, so it's been around a while, but even though I use YouTube, and like, it's a great resource to find folks like you who are, this is how you use Plexicam, this is how you use YouTube itself, how you plan things. But there's still, to me, there seems to be a lot of stigma around being on there if you want to be seen as professional, right? Mm-hmm. So what we talked about as a topic for today is using YouTube as your number one source of leads for your business. Mm-hmm. And for people who aren't using it at all, I get the feeling that, just like your book that came out this year, is that right?
Yes, it did, in March.
Okay. Yeah, so kind of early in the pandemic, and it's called Start.Suck.Get Better. So that ties in nicely to Next Future Today, because you gotta start over again. And sometimes as adults, we get sort of our ego in the way, and but I should somehow magically know this already, but that it doesn't work that way. And like, you can't download learning Kung Fu yet, as much as I like the Matrix. That is not a thing yet.
I wish, so you just gotta, I super wish.
Yeah, no, I'm waiting, but in the meantime, I'm going to keep learning the way that we know how to do it now. So how long have you been on YouTube and using YouTube as any source of leads for your business?
Yeah, so I got on YouTube specifically to get leads for my business. So for context to my story of how I got onto YouTube, I'm an Air Force wife, and I had started a social media marketing agency in September of 2015 to help put military spouses to work. That way they could work anywhere that they were stationed around the world to supplement their family's income by offering package-based social media management services to small business. And so the reason I did this is because the town we were stationed in didn't like to hire military spouses, because we move a lot. When the mission calls, we all have to answer, and it just becomes more problematic and difficult for military spouses to work. And you're talking not even just like normal jobs that you would find like in office buildings or schools and stuff, like even like fast food and restaurants, like we're not wanting to hire. And I grew up a military kid, and my mom dealt with this exact same issue. And it's like, well, I have a skill set because I've been social media marketer since 2009. And it was one of those things like, I can help with this since this is a continuous problem from when I was a child to now. And so a year in to my business, my husband comes home and is like, we have orders to move to South Korea. So from Texas to South Korea. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. How am I supposed to keep growing this agency and keep putting military spouses to work if I'm living on the other side of the world? And so I found this fantastic book that I think is still super relevant to this day called Vlog Like a Boss by Amy Schmittauer Landino. And she talks about how she used YouTube as a way to get leads to her business. And she kind of gives you a really good roadmap understanding of how it works. And I was like, this is the answer. I'm going to do this. And this was like February of 2017. I told my husband, I was like, I'm going to be a YouTuber. He was like, great, wait until we move. And so in August of 2017, I started off on my YouTube journey. I did this thing called Veda Vlog every day in August. And I did a video every day for the month of August. And so I launched my podcast at the same time. I had a podcast I did at that time called Marketing for Your Boring Business. So I had like 2 podcast episodes, and I had videos every day. And it was like a really nice crash course in getting started with YouTube, because I made a whole lot of mistakes, a whole lot of like trying to figure out how things work, how my set would work, how my camera would work, how I would position myself, how I would look, and what I actually needed to do to be effective on this platform. And what I started, and this is where the Start.Suck.Get Better comes from. Like, I had to start and suck. Everything you do, the first time you do it, you're going to suck. Like, it's just how this works. Like, it's how something new works, whether you're taking up knitting or you're taking up gardening or you're taking up like doing some sort of new job or whatever it may be. Like, anytime you do something for the first time, you're not supposed to be great at it. And so my first YouTube video is like a perfect example of this. I'm like, air conditioning is like a luxury in Korea. So like, I'm really sweaty and glistening. You watch me like get more and more moist as I'm there. I have like way too much makeup. I have a tank top, and you can like see my bra straps and stuff. I'm talking with my hands. And if you're watching the video, you see it. If you're listening, I talk with my hands. I'm like hitting my desk, and my webcam is like on my laptop, and it's like bouncing. And then it's a big open room. And so it's bad. But I did it, and I showed up day after day after day after day, week after week after week, and figured out how to make my videos better. With every new video, they got better. I figured out what I could do to make it work, and I started making bad videos that turned to good videos. Those good videos started to turn into great videos. Those great videos turned into like what I do now. And along the way, I was able to use YouTube for what I needed to, which is get leads. And that started by proving my expertise based on a search-based strategy to solve social media problems for people. And the more I did it, slowly, more and more people were watching, more and more people were emailing me and asking me about this, and more my agency grew.
There you go. That's quite a pitch.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. No, that's fascinating. So I guess, I haven't looked. Did you delete the early videos, or do you leave that to show the journey?
No, I still have my first videos up. I've deleted some of them purely because of YouTube algorithm stuff. Some people never delete anything. Some people delete everything. Like, it's just preference and strategy. But I do have my first video up on my channel that people should definitely go watch to feel better about themselves and their professionalism.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. So it's funny because I had a bunch. I have a lot more equipment now than I did pre-pandemic, but I had started attempting to do videos at a reasonable quality probably back in 2008. And then for some reason I dropped it. I don't know why that is. I can't remember. But when the pandemic hit, I was like, wait, I have lights and stands, and I have a Canon camera that I haven't touched in like years. I should do something about this. And then suddenly, poof, there went, because of the nature of the business, there went several $1,000s in the last couple of years. But, it's part of the challenge. Like, so I know we have a lot of really great keynote speakers as clients. They love being on a big stage in front of, 5,000, 10,000 people, and they're awesome. Pandemic, though, hits. When you're on a stage, there's a ton of people that are taking care of you, running lights and cameras and microphones and your remotes, and making sure you're ready to go on stage and you introduce. You don't have that if you're presenting from your house as a virtual presenter. So I know a lot of people that they've just said, until the pandemic's over, which maybe made sense in March of last year, I'm not going to do any presenting. So there's been a bunch of people that have just sat on the sidelines. If that worked for them, that's fantastic. But it's such a lost opportunity, because if you look at trends over time, when some sort of event like that, not clearly, we haven't experienced something like this, but if something happens where the world really changes, people that slam on the brakes or slow down versus their competitors who accelerate and maybe really invest heavily, they'll blow your doors off, right? You'll never see them again, because that's the sort of compounding effect, right? And it's such a, I do think part of it's ego. It's a little scary because there's a lot to potentially know. You could spend all day just tweaking hardware and never actually create anything, which is probably the point of being a speaker or a coach or whatever it is that you do. So if we were to give somebody if you have not used YouTube as a professional, as a venue for getting business for yourself, where do you start to not make it so complicated that they just don't even bother trying?
Well, I think it's important to remember, again, you have to start and you have to suck, and then it's the only way you can get better. You got to learn, you have to lick your wounds and learn along the way. As far as from a tech perspective, I always tell people, start with what you have. I had to actually buy a webcam for filming my videos that I did for my YouTube channel. It's actually the same webcam I'm using for our talk today. It's just a Logitech 1080p HD camera, because I know that what I'm doing with my web camera, I'm over the internet, and I can't do 4K with live streaming or zooming as much as I'd like. And I was able to also get this app called Webcam Settings that allows for me to adjust my lens so it's more like a camera than a web camera. And
Right.
then I just used a window. So my first year of YouTube, I am using a web camera and a window. I have this funny picture I took. That's me in the corner of my office with everything is wallpapered in Korea for some reason. So it's white wallpaper, and it's just boxes stacked up with my computer. And I had this little aluminum $20 tripod that I had my camera on. And that's how I recorded, and I did it for over a year. And I'm you have to use what you have and make what you work. I always encourage you, work out the crappy parts and the rough parts in the beginning with the gear you already have. And then once you feel comfortable, this is a good strategy for you, something that you can see yourself doing, then work on the upgrades. And, if you're really insistent on coming out the gate with really good quality, start with the simple cameras, start with with simple lighting, and keep it simple. All you need to make a video at the end of the day is camera, some way to capture audio, and lights. It's not this complicated. I need a set and all this kind of stuff. If you were to see my office right now, you would be like, Desiree, you need a maid. It's just messy. I got my a plate, I got papers, I've got a bag of snacks. I've got other equipment I'm trying out. My desk is just covered in just different things. And then the floor it's actually pretty picked up. But then behind me, I have this room divider to hide my studio, because it's just this big empty cement basement. And it's got gear everywhere. I've got construction equipment. I've got paint and all these different things happening. And it's but that doesn't matter. What matters is I'm here, and what you see on camera is curated for a specific purpose. It allows me to, so you can just have a nice corner of your house or your office that you set up and just keep clean. And you can just literally just push things out of the way. And if that's important to you to have a clean space for your videos, you don't have to overcomplicate it. Like I said, build up to things. Some people will talk, a lot of YouTube educators will talk about different things that you can do. My buddy Owen, he always talks about having a video creation station in your home or office. It's a place that you can go, turn on the lights and hit record, and you're ready to ready to do it. But I'm like, that's awesome. And I think that's smart. And I think a lot of us that do this a lot get there. Now when we start, we have no idea what the frack we're doing. We have no idea like what equipment we need or how to get to these points. And like, even if we wanted to do it this way out the gate, it's intimidating, right?
Yeah.
So just build up. Having a build up is like a slow glow up versus trying to like go have the instant pop or go viral and like you're not ready for it. So teach yourself. YouTube, the thing about YouTube that's really important to remember, and this is something that's so hard for people to really grasp, is it's not about your gear and it's not about like how good you look. It's about showing up, giving value, and being yourself, and remembering this is the long game. It is literally like something that you do as a constant for your marketing, to know that like my first video is not going to get me sales in my first month. Probably. It might even get you sales for 6 months, but then people will start calling you in month 7. And then as you keep creating content, it snowballs and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So right now I'm over 4 years into my YouTube journey. I have 20,000 subscribers. I have over 2.3 million views on my channel. And I've grown my email list to almost 15,000 people that I communicate with on a weekly basis. And on average, I probably get about 1 lead a day that comes into from my YouTube channel. And it's designed that way. But my first year, look at my first year of data, I had 11,000 hours of watch time and 219 subscribers.
Okay, yeah.
That's it. Right. And then the next year grew, and then the next year grew, and the pandemic hit, and everyone went online and they're like, I need solutions. And I was there and I was ready for them. I was able to serve them. Do I think everybody had a pandemic situation? No. Do I want anyone to have a pandemic situation again? No, because I never want a pandemic to happen again. But it's one of those things like you're there and you have these opportunities for growth, and you can see exponential like ways that you can tap into trends or help people in specific situations and stuff like that. So you just have to, it's a long game. You have to keep using this over and over and over again as a lead source for you. Remembering I have to show up, give value, be myself, and give it time to work.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I think those are all good tips, because it is sort of intimidating to start. Like I remember when I first started on Twitter was the first 6 months that it existed, and nobody had any followers, right? So everybody was starting at zero. Social media was essentially a brand new thing. But to, like there's lots of YouTubers like you that I'm following that have tons and tons of hours, and it is easy to forget that once upon a time your channel didn't even exist, let alone have anybody who was watching anything. And seeing that zero when you hit publish and put a video out there and views don't change, it's slightly irritating to say the least.
It really is, and it's a little defeating. It's like, oh no one's watching me, and it's kind of one of those things like, well guys, remember, like, how do I say this without hurting anyone's feelings? Like, no one knows you yet. Like, again, remember the first time you started your business, or when you did something, when you walked into your office for the first time, do you know anybody? Maybe the HR person on accident. So if you want to equate that, like it's your mom or wife or spouse or kids are watching. Your kids are probably not watching. It's like, oh no, my parents are on YouTube now. But it's just that kind of idea. Like, you get some people that will watch you. And that's why if you are fortunate to already have a business in place, you have an audience you can turn to. Like, you can post on your social medias. You can post on your existing email list. You can share it on your website. Now, there's a lot of things that you can do out the gate to get you initial attention, because a lot of building up is starting with your existing audience, kind of like when you're starting with like a network marketing business, starts with your existing friends and family. It's kind of the same with YouTube. Like, get them interested, get them watching, get them supporting you. And then if you're doing your strategy right and you're focusing very specifically on what you're talking about, more and more people will come.
Right. Well, so let's talk. So there's a whole bunch of, you can get totally tied up in a whole bunch of technology stuff, which is definitely not a good idea, because that can potentially never end and be very addictive and empty your wallet. So let's talk strategy then. So, it's not build it and they will come. Having a focus, which is something, what I'm trying to do with Next Future Today is sort of counterintuitive. It's a focus on things that you can start today that are going to help create your next future, instead of just sitting around and waiting for somebody else to do it for you. And I cover a bunch of topics because it's interview based and I'm talking to people with different skills. So I'm sort of focused on helping people get exposed to things that maybe they've been too scared to even try to find out how to do, and show that there are actual other human beings out there who have done whatever they're interested in.
There's literally a mosquito that just flew in front of my window, which makes me very concerned because it's December. Sorry, I apologize.
Nice. Yeah, how'd that happen? So with focus, do you have any suggestions on part of this is it's at least a two-way conversation, if not a multi-way conversation. So you can be very passionate about a topic that either nobody cares about, or you haven't found the audience for, or for some reason they're not on YouTube, they're on some other platform. How do you go about between honing what your focus is and finding the people that care?
That comes down to really understanding your business. That has nothing to do with the platforms. That has everything to do with like, what is my business? Like, what problems does my business solve? And who is it that they're solving them for? Like, whenever we talk about our perfect customer, we have to ask ourselves, okay, what problems do they have? Who are they? Like, what is their life like? How do they live? Like, what is their income level? Are they married? Do they have kids? Like, what kind of car do they drive? Do they rent? Do they own? Like, there's a lot of these questions we have to ask ourselves. Like, what does this person look like that I want to do business with? And then you have to ask yourself, okay, based on that information, like knowing what their problems are and how they live, that's going to tailor, how I market my product. So how I talk to businesses. So I'm a social media marketer. And social media marketers are a dime a dozen. Like, I can honestly say that at this point in 2020, heading into 2022, right? But I'm not a social media marketer that's really great for restaurants or retail and brick and mortar stores. I'm not a great social media marketer for people that like have an in-house team that can take care of stuff. Like, my real like realm of focus is in service-based businesses where they're busy working in their business and don't have time to work on their business, but they know that social media is important and they want it done for them. Like, they don't have to worry about it. Like, those are my people. I've tried working with all these other ones, because I realized this based on how I've structured my business and what I'm good at and how much I know the client can or cannot do. I know that like there's this whole segment that's not good for me. So I figured this out with my years of doing this. This is who I serve. This is what I know we can do and do the best for them. And that's part of like what they look like is that they are like, 5 to 10 years into their business. They probably either have an office and a team in place of some kind, and they want to get these things done, but they don't want to have to deal with it, because they also know that hiring a social media manager doesn't make sense for them, because they would have so little to do and it would cost them so much money. Right. So it's like, they know like this, and I know who they are. Oftentimes they're like a older millennial or a young Gen Xer, and they're just trying to step into these things that they want to do and have growth opportunities. They're probably married. They probably have kids. They probably are owning their home. They're like a few years into their mortgage. These are the things I know about my customer, because these are my customers, right? And their problem is exactly what I said. Like, I know their problem and how to talk to them. Like, hey, you're busy working in your business. You focus on working in your business, and we've got your social media. Don't worry about anything. New trends come up, new things happen. We'll touch base and we'll take care of it for you, right? So you have to have stuff about your business. What does this person look like? What are their problems? And how do I tailor my messaging to accommodate that? Without knowing those pieces, you can't do anything in marketing effectively. You can't do targeted advertising. You can't do email marketing. You can't have a website. You can't have a landing page. You can't have a billboard in the sky. Like, you cannot market effectively if you don't know that stuff. Now, why it's important to know all that other ancillary information, not just like what their problem is and how to solve it, knowing how old they are, where they live, how they do things, is important for social media, because you want to make sure that you're talking to them on the platforms that they use most. So if I'm a retail store that targets the under 30 girl or woman, I'm probably not spending time on Facebook or LinkedIn. But if I am trying to target older millennials and young Gen Xers who are 35 to 45, to try and get them signed up to get started with, planning out their retirement funds, because a lot of people don't do that until too late in life.
Yeah.
I probably want to spend time on Facebook and maybe even consider LinkedIn. But the one platform that everyone uses is YouTube. I would, once upon a time, I would have said Facebook. I would have argued that. And I think that some people probably would still, but
Sure.
YouTube is where everyone spends their time. I have so much data that supports different demographics who are starting to use, like baby boomers are using YouTube more, how Gen Zers are consuming YouTube content, how businesses are and are not using it, how entertainment is working, how people get their news from it, how people use it. But that always comes back to two very simple things. Number one, everyone uses YouTube. Number two, everyone is searching for something.
Mm.
And so you have to be there with the search-based strategy to help you. And you have to know that you're not servicing all 2 billion users on YouTube. You are servicing your specific demographic that you know who they are and what their problems are and how to communicate with. That's why when I talk from a service-based situation with it, if you have a business of some kind, you already have a business that solves problems for people. So start out by answering the questions that you get asked all the time, because more than likely they're searching on Google for these answers too. How to fix my plumbing. Why is my ceiling leaking? How do I switch my HVAC from summer to winter? How do I, what's the best way to clean my teeth? Why are my teeth so sensitive? Why are my teeth yellow? Why is my back hurt? How do I get started with Instagram? How do I look at the camera correctly on a Zoom call? Right? These are all questions people Google. And I want you guys to show up as the answer so that they build trust with you and can connect with you. And then they keep coming back for more, because with any luck, whatever problem they have, they're going to keep having that problem, which ultimately leads to you getting business of some kind.
Right. Okay. So there's so many different directions we could go with that then. So as far as the, I agree. I mean, part of the reason that I'm the face of Plexicam, we want to be as in touch as possible with our clients, because especially in the first year, people, we don't have direct, explicit competition necessarily. The kind of competition that we have are tripod manufacturers, which are not like exciting companies that are out there producing content on YouTube. Because what are you going to talk about? There's probably a million tripods listed on Amazon alone, right? And most of them are terrible, especially if they're cheap. So please don't buy cheap little tiny tripods. Save your money or stick a camera on a book or something. But it's there's so many different potential problems that people have. Like for us, we lit like $1,000 on fire with Facebook advertising right out of the gate. Zero sales that we could attribute to that, because we were showing an almost invisible product that didn't look like anything else that accomplished the same thing. And the only reaction we got was, I have no idea what I'm looking at. And that was a sobering moment. So, and that's when we started reaching out to our speaker friends and others to say, hey, are you frustrated with not being able to actually connect with the people that you're doing coaching, or when you're presenting to a larger crowd, but you don't have the kind of gear that you would normally just take for granted with a production studio and all that kind of stuff. So I like that you have one of your freebies. There's like 50 must-have videos, I think you called it.
Yeah, I have 50 videos every business can create.
Yeah. So can you tell me? So I guess part of like learning search strategy, especially SEO. It's such a, everybody sounds exactly the same. They all sound like they know what they're doing until you spend your money and you realize none of them actually know what they're doing, over the vast majority that I've experienced anyhow. So to get people to wrap their heads around it. So should you literally take the questions that you get from your existing clients and just create content that specifically addresses those questions, or do you do deeper research, or how would you approach your search strategy for video?
Yeah, so it's I have a couple different tools that I can guide you to, but honestly, just start with Google. And the best thing you can do when you're searching is, if you're using Chrome, which you should be, is you want to go to an incognito mode. So what incognito mode allows for you to do is to search without any agenda or cookies or preconceived notions. Basically how someone would go cold into the internet searching. Because one of the things about how we search for things, it's all tracked and tailored to our personal usage, right? So we don't want to tailor or color our search wrongly. So we want to search fresh. And so you start out by searching, okay, give me an industry that we can use as an example, Dan.
Let's do financial services.
Okay, so
financial advisors.
Okay, so financial advisors. So you can just literally go to Google, commonly asked questions for financial advisors. What is a financial advisor? Why do I need a financial advisor? What does a financial advisor do? How does a financial advisor manage my money? And then once you kind of have some of these base questions, you can go in and see what the answers are. And you're going to see more questions that you could turn into more stuff. So okay, what is a Roth IRA? What is an IRA? What is a mutual fund? What is, when should I start my retirement? These are all things how much money will I make if I start investing $1,000 a month when I'm 35? How can I invest for my kids? There's all these different questions that go into financial planning, and that a financial planner can guide you through. And I believe that people should have people, because we're not supposed to be experts in everything. That's stupid. I am not good at my taxes. I'm not a financial planner. I also am not good at house maintenance. I know when things are broken, but I don't try and fix things myself. I know what I'm good at. I'm good at being a mom. I'm good at arts and crafts. I'm good at having lots of fun. I'm a whiz at all Harry Potter things, and I'm great at social media marketing, and video stuff. These are what I'm good at. And so if you want to know how to do something and you want to do something, find someone that's good at to help you, right? That's what Google is doing for you. That's what YouTube is going to do. You're going to be the solution to people who need help with stuff. So that's how you start with Google. So if you want to get extra scrappy, some extra tools that you can do. So there's a tool called keyword tools that you can get. It's a plugin. Again, I'm talking from I'm just gonna do this myself while I talk.
Sure.
It's called Keyword Tools. Is that what it's called? It's an add-on that you can get for your Google Chrome extension. So it's just like an add-on, and it gives you all this extra data of things that you can do that's on the side of your Google search. And it shows you how often this is searched. It tells you related search terms, because that's kind of what we're looking for. We're not just looking for the questions, we're looking for the keywords, because people aren't going to search in perfect sentences. I have a video on my YouTube channel, how to collaborate with Instagram Reels. Someone may not be searching for that. How to create a killer social media strategy for 2022. And that's not what people are searching for. What people are searching for is content strategy, Instagram Reels. Those are the kinds of things people search for. So we're trying to find those long tail keywords and search terms that people are doing to get answers to their questions. And then we create videos around those keywords, but make those keywords into fluent sentences. I hope that makes sense. So keywords, keywords everywhere. That's it. So keywords everywhere allows for you to do that. My second tool that I love so much, that they are the sponsor of my Women of YouTube podcast, is called vidIQ. Now, vidIQ is an extension, again, for your YouTube browser for Chrome, that allows for you to get data based on YouTube traffic and search terms. So when you have it in here, whenever I'm searching for something, I can do I can put in a keyword term, and I can see how well would this keyword do with searching. And it gives you a grade 1 through 100. And then when you search for something, it also is going to give you other videos that are related to this when you search for them, to make sure that it aligns correctly. It's going to give you other related keywords that maybe you can find with a better score, or you can add on to a list of keywords that you add into your video, because YouTube has a section where you can add multiple keywords. You can track your competitors. So I can go see okay, what is that financial planner, that financial planner, that financial planner on YouTube? What are they talking about, and what's working really well for them? And then I'm just going to piggyback off of what they're doing. Right. So vidIQ gives you a lot of really great opportunities. And my favorite part is, especially once you start creating videos and you have things going, what you can do is it gives you daily ideas based off of your channel's success. So right now, if I go into my vidIQ, it tells me that the top 3 videos I should make is how LinkedIn can grow your business, Facebook ads versus Google ads, which sells more, and increase your sales with these Shopify apps. These are all very high predictions to do well for me. Then I can save them, and they give me 50 new ones every single day. So if you're stumped and know what to do, but this can't happen without having existing content on your channel. So it's a really great tool that allows for you to get on the right path to figuring out what you want to create. And this is obviously the 5-minute crash course of keyword searching for content. But if you don't even want to do that, like honestly, literally just sit down and write down what are the top 10 questions you get asked all the time related to your business. And they have to be questions that take 3 to 5 minutes to answer. It can't just be what insurance do you accept? Like you can't do that kind of stuff. So stuff that you can dive in. So if someone asks like, what's a financial planner? A question could be like, what's a financial planner? 5 things you need to know. And then like you can talk about those 5 things about what a financial planner is and why they need one, right? So you can dig into that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's, so just breaking it down so people can wrap their heads around it. It's so I do agree with, if you already have an existing client base, and so you're a year or multiple years into your business, you have a pretty good idea of at least what those clients are thinking about and why they found you and the things that concern them. So that's a great source. And for the algorithms to help you, once you have content out there, then you can use tools like, is it vidIQ? Is that what that one was called?
vidIQ, VIDIQ.
Yeah. So you can use those tools to help. And unless you really like searching on YouTube and want to just keep going through there by hand, you can let the algorithms do the work for you and point out, maybe some blind spots in your content strategy. Time flies. We're somehow we have almost already chewed up an hour. I don't know how that happened.
We keep going. I'm here. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, so I guess so. I think one. You see a lot about like folks like Gary Vee, which you reference as well. There's a lot of people that, and we sort of talked about this before we were officially on camera. You do a lot, or at least it appears that purely you do a lot online. It turns out there's other people that you have that are helping you. But from a glance, it looks like, Desiree is a superhuman, and how in the world can I possibly, put out the kind of content on the regular basis that you manage to do and not go insane and without sleep and waste away into nothing potentially. So
I mean, I don't know why wouldn't you want to waste something? It's not like work-life balance means anything.
Exactly. This is our inspirational section.
Right. Get to work, die. No, seriously. I do what I do. Again, this goes back to like when we start, it isn't always going to be as one of the words I'm looking for as like
as an expert.
Yeah, like you're not gonna do everything at once. Like you're not gonna jump out the gate doing every single thing that everyone tells you to do. Like that's unrealistic, right? That's why we build up to things with our business, and especially with our marketing. Like we start with one service, then we add another one once we feel comfortable, and another one, right? So it's kind of one of those things. It's like, okay, what can I build on here? Like what can I get up to doing with this? And then you get to a point, like, and you're gonna reach these points where it's like, okay, I want to do this. This is me. So I'm gonna talk about YouTube for a minute with me. In order for me to do YouTube, I have had an editor since day one. The reason I made that decision is because I knew how important YouTube would be for the future growth of my business. And I had made that investment choice just as if I was to make an investment in like paid advertising. Like I said, you spent a bunch of money on paid advertising and didn't get anything out of it. Right. So for me, I was like, okay, I knew how YouTube would work. I knew how it was going to work, but I also knew there's a mom with a 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. And I was a military spouse, and I had like this very specific window that I could have every day to get stuff done when my kids were at school. And in addition to the other obligations that I had, like I had military spouse related obligations that I had committed to. And so I had these limited amounts of time to take care of stuff. And so I was like, I knew it was important. And I knew that it would, I knew that it would be the point that would stop me from moving forward. I knew that I could record videos, I could publish videos, but editing was a whole thing I knew would take time from what I do because I've been an editor. That's what my formal education is actually in multimedia art. I know how to edit videos. And so I was like, no, I'm going to go to Fiverr and find myself someone to edit my videos for me. And that's how I did it. So you have to ask yourself, is something important to you, but you're not good at it, or can take you away from doing other things that you need to do that'll help you with creating business now while YouTube helps you create business for later? like take away those hurdles. It's the same thing we said for a lot of things that we do in business, whether it's social media marketing, you need someone to do it for you, whether you need someone to be a personal assistant, like take care of all these different houses, hiring a maid to take care of the deep cleaning of your house once a week. Like these are all different things that some people like, I don't have money for, but I would challenge you to think of it differently. Like, no, how much money do you lose trying to do it yourself?
Yeah.
So I know what my hourly rate is, and I know how much a cleaning service would charge me. Therefore, I'm like, okay, I'm going to use that time. I'm going to get back that time. Because also they do it faster and way more focused with way less interruptions than I do trying to clean my house. Right?
Yes.
So they're more motivated because they're like, I want to get through more houses so that I can make more money as an individual or a company. But also I can use the time that they're cleaning. Maybe it's like 3 to 4 hours every week. And in that 3 to 4 hours, I can do more work. And that's like, I know my rate. Like, so while it might cost me $200 to have them come, if I can work for 4 hours, that's $400 I can make. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's that balance of cost and time. When you're starting out, it's hard to justify that. But as we move along, it gets better. Like there's a lot of things that we don't do. Like we don't wash our cars. We don't get our own oil changes. You know, nowadays we don't even do our own grocery shopping. Right. So it's just one of those things that's like, think about it in that kind of way. So what do you want to do in your business that you know could help you? Or you want to test out helping you? If you don't have time to do it, how can you be a part of it and have someone do the heavy lifting? And so that's what I do. So like with my book, I had to write my book. That was probably the most time consuming thing I've ever done. But I had an editor and I had like a photographer do my photos. I had someone design my cover. I worked with the company to help me launch it and get everything set up correctly. I have a VA that helps with a lot of projects with my stuff. So like my podcast, I record my podcast and I'm the one that gets the interviews and she edits it and does the show notes and the supporting social graphics and then sends it to the social media manager on the team that posts up the content. Right. So it's just like those kind of ways. My YouTube process, I write the scripts for my video and then I record it and I send it to the editor and she edits it and makes it look the way I want to. And then I review it and tell her what changes to make. And then I have a thumbnail company I work with that creates just my thumbnails for my YouTube videos. They have to make the thumbnails and then I schedule it out. So these 2 time-consuming design heavy things, I have other people do. Right. So it's just kind of working through those processes, like what are you good at and what are you not good at? And what do you actually want to do? And is there someone that can do it for you? And the answer for the last one is always yes. There's always someone that can do work for you.
Right. Yeah. So you could learn to do it, or perhaps you already know how to do it in your case, you know, with a multimedia background, but should you be doing it when, you know, really the stuff that you should, you know, if you want to, especially if you're on camera and you're representing your own brand as an individual or as, you know, whatever size company you might have, that's the part that you can't really outsource, but you can take the other stuff that, you know, might be fun and it's certainly important, but why in the world should you be the one to do it?
Yeah, there's just too much to try and do. Like, you know, I speak at marketing conferences and like I sit in people's sessions and I see how like excited people are. And I will talk to these same attendees. They've gone to my sessions too. And I'll talk to these like, so what did you think? And every single person says in one way, shape, or form, it was a lot. And then, so I always tell people, what's the one thing you're going to do when you get back to work that you can take action on now? And so that to me tells me what the most important thing is based off their 2 days of learning or whatever they've been, that they can do right away, like the small win. And so like, and that's, I think what's important to ask those questions and think about it. Like, there's so much to do. Can you go to a marketing conference? I need to get on Pinterest. I need to do this next level SEO. I need to optimize my website, but I need to redesign my website. I need to get on video because Desiree told me to. I got to figure out the social media strategy. I got to figure out how analytics work. I got to do tracking. I got to I have to also try and be innovative. Like this is like the equivalent to trying to be a mother in 2021. I need to be skinny. I need to be rested. I need to give all my time to my kids. And I have to have full course vegan gluten-free meals ready, and I have to have sex with my husband all the time, and this and it's all of these like piles on the things. That's how it becomes the business owner. It's that very much. There's so much to do. It's unrealistic to do it all, especially yourself. So really think through, what can I do what do I want to do? What can I do? And what can I outsource? Knowing while also having an estimate like what my return would be. And that's the question to answer. So that's how I do all that I do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we didn't plan that, but the last question that I typically ask is if there was one thing for people who have not yet started to use YouTube as a source of leads, what is that one thing that you would recommend that they do?
Don't overthink it and get started. Honestly, all of this advice I think is really helpful. But if you're not going to sit your butt down and hit that record button, it's useless.
Right.
You are such an expert in what you do. It's so good. And I'm sure you have lots of opinions about other people that do it. Like they do it bad, or they do it wrong, or whatever it is. Like you have a moral obligation to help people. If you know something other people don't, or you can present it in a way that helps them that they don't, so that you can help people. Again, that's what we do as business owners. We help people at the end of the day. That's what we do. Yes, we get paid for it. Yes, we have incomes. Yes, we make money. We help people. So you need to not overthink this, be the badass expert that you are, and hit that record button and suck and then get better.
Yeah. You can always delete it later.
No, you're not allowed to delete it. You have to have it there. And be like, man, I'm really glad that Desiree chick told me to start, because I was super sucky, but now I'm a lot better. Sort of like why we have like before and after photos of things, or we go back and look at our pictures of us and we're like weird looking teenagers and stuff. Like, look how far we've come. That's why we reflect. That's why anniversaries are so great. And we get to reflect on what we've done, how far we've come, what we've overcome, and what we're going to do to move forward. Keep your old videos. Start, suck, get better, and then reflect.
Yeah. Awesome. Great. Well, there's so much more we could certainly talk about. And there's a ton that you could get tied up and wrapped around the axle if you're just getting started. But that starting, I also did a similar live every day thing with live streaming pros, Luria and the crew, and it was funny because it's in some ways it seems like a huge commitment. In other ways, it's not necessarily discipline. It's just having the experience of doing it every day. So all the weird stuff starts to disappear, and it's just normal. And at least you get over some level of whatever hurdles were in front of you, and you continue on from there. So I like that sort of immersive aspect of a program like that. And just kind of, it's the same thing with, I don't like making cold calls, which I still don't, but I volunteered for doing calls for some political campaigns in the last 8 years. And I did not want to do them, but I specifically, in my core, I didn't want to do them, but I did it so that I could just get pummeled for 2 hours and get over the fear of doing that sort of outreach, because you never know who you're going to get in touch with, and maybe it's not so nice. But that's a good simulator for when else you're going to get such a huge volume of calls that you have to make, unless it's in a situation like that. So, sometimes it can be a little mentally trying, perhaps, to do it the first time, but every single time that you do it, it should get that much easier.
I don't disagree with you. You're actually, do things that are hard, do things that are comfortable. Those are, what is it? Like what is the saying? It's like, you can't have growth inside your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
Do
Great.
it.
All right. So where's the best place for people to find you? At mrsdesiree.com? Is that where we should point them to? Yeah,
you can just go to allinOneSocialMedia.com, or find me on YouTube at youtube.com/allinOneSocialMedia.
Awesome. All right. It's so nice to finally talk to you, Desiree, and we'll definitely stay in touch. 2022 is going to be a big year for us. The first year was, does anybody care? Will anybody ever buy a Plexicam in the first place? And it turns out that thousands and thousands of people have. So I think we got something going on here.
Sounds perfect. And I can't wait. Like I said, you make a great product and you're bringing great people together. So keep doing what you do, man.
Yeah. Thank you for your support.